Hello, and once again, welcome to Let's Make It Vegan. I'm Chef Fred, and today we're going to be doing buckwheat pancakes. Just going to be a short, direct video. We're going to work on buckwheat pancakes, a quick blueberry syrup, and this comes to us from a suggestion from Brandy in Melbourne, Florida. So, Brandy, this one's for you, and we'll be over at the stove getting started putting this together. It's going to be basic buckwheat flour, which is a gluten-free flour, and one of the great things about that are, number one, it's gluten-free. Number two, buckwheat isn't technically a grain, it's a seed, so that's one of the reasons why it is gluten-free, and one of the reasons why it's very high in nutrition and fiber, because they grind up the whole seed grain in order to get the buckwheat flour. It's very similar nutritionally to something like oatmeal. So just part of the ingredients we're going to be doing, of course, the buckwheat flour. Going to just use some baking powder in order to get the buckwheat to rise and be nice and fluffy. Making the blueberry syrup, we're going to be using some cornstarch and a cornstarch slurry. And we have some agave syrup that's going to go in the pancake mix. Also going to be a little bit of the agave syrup in with the blueberries in order to sweeten that up a little bit. So let's go head over to the stove and get started. Alright, here we are, over at the stove. Got a skillet on, just kind of getting warm. Already got my blueberries started in here. And basically all I did was, this was just a handful of blueberries, a little bit of water to cover it, a squirt of agave syrup, maybe about a quarter cup, and then a quick slurry of cornstarch. That's cornstarch and water, a 2-to-1 ratio. So basically you're talking about, say, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 4 tablespoons of water. Get that mixed up real good. Once the blueberries are hot, with a little bit of simmer, go ahead and pour your slurry in a little bit at a time as you're mixing it in order to come up with a nice thick consistency that you want. And I do definitely recommend pouring it in slowly, a little bit at a time. Give it a stir, and as it comes up to temperature, you'll see it start to thicken, and you'll know when to go ahead and stop adding the cornstarch slurry. Next over here, we have our buckwheat flour. Basically, I got about 2 cups, and I'm using this container here just to make it easier for you to see kind of quantities. So we've got about 2 cups of the buckwheat flour. Also got about a tablespoon or so of baking powder, and we're gonna add our oat milk. And I don't know exactly how much. We just got to bring this to a consistency that's similar to what we know as pancakes. And for a little sweetness in the batter, going to do a squirt of agave syrup. And for a little bit more flavor also, going to go ahead and add a little bit of vanilla extract. Just a little boop of vanilla extract. And also we have some flax egg here that I mixed up earlier. And flax egg, the ratio is just like your slurry. You're going to use a 2-to-1 ratio. So I basically have 2 tablespoons of flaxseed, 4 tablespoons of water mixed up. Whenever you're using flax egg like this, make sure you're mixing it up ahead of time, because it takes about 10-15 minutes or so for the flax to absorb all the water and get to the consistency that does make it like egg. So I'm going to pour some of that in here, about that much. And then we'll go ahead and get a mix up here. See what kind of consistency we're getting on our batter. And like I said, I'm not measuring the milk going in here. I can see already that it's going to be thick, so we're just going to add a little bit more. And then get it mixed up. And as you can see, the buckwheat is really dark. Buckwheat flour is also used in soba noodles. If you're familiar with some Oriental food, soba noodles are a wonderful, wonderful noodle that's made from buckwheat. So of course, it's gluten-free if it's made from 100% buckwheat. And it's very, very high in protein. Way higher in protein than most of your normal Oriental noodles. that are just made from wheat or especially rice. There, we're getting better here. And as far as in your pancakes, if you also want to add any kind of fruit to the pancakes yourself, once we put them in the pan, you can sprinkle some actual blueberries that'll be in the pancakes itself. And if you don't like blueberries, you can do the same kind of thing with strawberries, peaches, your favorite kind of fruit, even apples. Apples would be great. With a little bit of cinnamon, that would make a really great syrup. So we're getting up to about the consistency that we're wanting. A little bit thick yet, but we'll keep this getting stirred up, and it's looking pretty good now. Hopefully we got everything off the bottom, but go ahead and take that out of here into the sink, and we're gonna get a little bit of butter in our pan just to help with the non-stick, and also get a little buttery flavor on your pancakes. So we'll just let that in there, get going a little bit, get that swirled around all the nooks and crannies. There we go. And I just got a half cup measuring cup here. This will just make our pancakes a little more consistent as far as size, but we're going to go right in here and get those guys down and get started. And one of the things you will find with making pancakes, as you start to see bubbles appear on here, gives you an idea of when it's starting to get cooked. Don't use too high of a temperature because you don't want them to get brown before the actual batter in the center cooks. Looks like we're going pretty good at this point. And like I had said before, I did get an email from Brandy from Melbourne, who was looking for some gluten-free comfort foods that kind of may be a little bit different than the normal kind of stuff that you're looking for. Things that are, you know, gonna fill you up. And as you saw, whipping this stuff up in the morning is quick and easy. It's really only slightly harder than putting water in an instant cake batter or a pancake batter. So here we're getting a nice little rise out of these guys, so it's getting a little bit puffy, and we'll keep an eye on it. And as you can see, some bubbles are now starting to form around the outer edge as this guy cooks up. And we got our syrup on here, just low, staying warm. All right, you can definitely see the outer edges now starting to get a little more firm. And if you want, you can go ahead and give a check. Just a little bit brown under there. We can go another minute or so on this guy. And then the second side, whenever we flip it over, going to be just a couple minutes, because it's going to be 80% cooked through once we do our first flip. All right, let's give this a try. As you can see, this thing is already sliding, so we know that it's cooked on the other side. Quick flip. We got you there. So once we get this cooked through a little bit, we'll put on some syrup and you're ready to go. Very quick and easy, not much of a mess. So here we have your buckwheat pancakes. I would go ahead and suggest maybe doing a few more, but for the sake of getting this here on video, you can see the blueberry syrup here. And there we have it. Gluten-free, very nutritious breakfast. Between all the protein and nutrients in the buckwheat flour, all your antioxidants in the blueberries, you're going to be ready to go for the day. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Make It Vegan. And once again, like and subscribe. And thank you, Brandy, for giving this suggestion of some gluten-free easy meals to do. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you later.